Okay, guys. So here it is. This is how to switch adapt a on-off plush that has activation like in the hand or foot. And I think it's a great place to start when you're switch adapting. So let me first run through all the things that you will need. You will need a 6-foot stereo extension cable. If you visit my link in my Insta bio, I have these linked. They're 69 cents a piece, so they're fairly inexpensive. A screwdriver, just in case you need to get into the toy itself. Undo the batteries. Wire stripper. I like to have a scissors handy. There's 3 ways you can secure the wire. You can do it through electrical tape, you can solder it, or you can use a hot glue gun. Today I'm actually going to be using the hot glue gun, and here's why. I feel like I have just as much luck soldering as using the hot glue gun, and if the wires do come apart at like school or a clinic, I'd be more likely to have my hot glue gun to pull out and fix the toy. So we're going to be switch adapting this toy. It's at most major retailers, like $11 to $13. And just one thing to talk about real fast and why I like this toy, there are multiple different sites that you can put the switch. Stay away from the center, but I do like the feet, the arms. If you have a peer working with your student, you can also have 2 switches if you're working on 2-step switch scanning. And one other thing is when you are using a toy like this, make sure, or just at least think about, you're not getting a toy that it's gonna like roll off the table or do backflips or something like that, because that's gonna pull the switch. So just something to think about, because sometimes these toys can do more than just sing and light up. All right, let's get started. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my scissors, and let's just say I want to switch adapt the hand. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do, well, let's back up a minute. My husband always tells me to take the batteries out, and before that, you definitely want to make sure your toy works, because in the end, if you switch adapt and nothing happens, you want to make sure that the toy worked in the first place, which is seems like probably such an obvious thing to say, but you want to make sure you can roll that out. So I'm going to go ahead and take the batteries out while I'm switch adapting, just so it doesn't continue to go off. My husband recommended me taking the batteries out anyway, so we'll go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and take these out so my toy will not work or activate. All right, so those are out, so my toy will not work. I don't know if this one has an on-off either. This one does have an on-off too, so I'm gonna have to make sure we put that back on after we're done. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do next. We are going to feel for a wire. So this wire is connected to your basically activator here. So I'm gonna feel where it's at, because when I cut into the toy, I wanna make sure I don't hit the wire. All right, so I feel it right here. So I'm going to make a small incision right here using a scissors. You can also have a little sewing kit if you want. All right, so just sew it back up after. So I'm going to feel around. I'm going to grab my 2 wires out. Oop, there goes a little stuffing. All right, so here I have my 2 wires. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to pull it out. Now what you're going to do is you're going to cut from basically where it activated, so farthest away from the battery. So the wire closest to here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that, because basically what I've done is this switch will we'll call it a switch. This button, or let's say, will no longer work. Now I'm going to need my switch to activate and connect the circuit. So these 2 little wires are definitely stuck together, and I'm going to try to take them apart because we need them down to 2. You know what, I'm going to take my scissors. You can see they're connected. I'm just going to like gently cut, because I want to pull them out. Yep, there we go. And now I have 2 wires, so everybody can see that. Okay, now what you're going to need is your stereo extension cable, and I'm going to go plug in my hot glue gun. Anybody else's allergies just rip roaring right now? All right, so we're gonna grab the stereo extension cable. So there's two parts. There's the end that has the hole and the end with almost the prong, let's call it. We're gonna use the end with the hole. Now, one thing that I've done before is I've made it super long, but we don't need this to be really long because our length is gonna come from our switch. So if we need a distance to get to our client, that's gonna be the switch wire. So I'm just gonna maybe cut 1 to 2 inches just to give myself some wiggle room. If this is your first time doing a switch adapted toy, maybe cut back a little further. That way when you're stripping the wire, you have some extra room to practice. So I have the end with the hole in it. Don't throw this away because you can actually make a switch with this. And I do have a YouTube video with that. So put that away for later. You're going to grab your wire stripper, okay? And it's going to be a 12, I believe. You're gonna twist up and pull. Actually, I'm gonna do a little bit more. Twist up and pull. Okay, so now I have 3 wires. Sometimes these come with red, yellow, blue, red, yellow, white. I always just get rid of the yellow because I'm superstitious and I always just stick with what I've done in the past. But all 3 colors should work. So I'll just snip that out. I have switch adapted a dinosaur toy once that had 3 wires in it. So we had to use all 3 wires, which was interesting. Okay, so basically what we're gonna do now, y'all, is attach this wire to this wire, and that will complete the circuit. All right, so you can start at either end. I'm gonna go ahead and start here. Sometimes I'll take my thumbnail and I will get down to the wiring. I believe it's copper. If you can't, if you don't have a good thumbnail, which I don't always, you can kind of act like you're stripping or curling a ribbon. So now you have 2 parts exposed. We're gonna do the exact same thing over here, right? We need to get to the, let's say it's copper. I think it is copper. So I'm just gonna gently, now don't do too hard because you might just cut through the entire thing. Sometimes I just like to get it started. That is being stubborn today. Oh, there we go. Okay. Sorry, I know the focus. I am not a videographer, so these are gonna be pretty raw. Okay, got the other side. All right. So now you have the 2 exposed wires over here. You have the 2 exposed wires over here. You guys are like 75% done. You are doing great. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take my red wire, okay? I'm gonna take one of the sides from the toy and I'm basically going to twist them together. So this is the point where you could solder them. You could use electrical tape, and I'm gonna use hot glue today because I've had pretty good success with hot glue. All right, so I have basically twisted those 2 wires together. I folded them over, and I'm going to repeat on the other side. Now, if these, well, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's not get ahead of myself. That's not me breathing heavy, that's my dog, if you can hear that. Sweet Summer 16. Okay. Make that a little tighter. All right, so let me show you what I've done. So now you can see that my stereo extension cable is connected side by side with my wires from my toy, just the arm. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go grab my hot glue gun and I'm just gonna use hot glue. It still will conduct the current. Learned this from an engineer when he laughed at my electrical tape, so. This is such a great toy to start with because even if you know, do something wrong on one side or you just can't correct it, and here I am putting the hot glue all over it. You have like 5 more spots to try. All right, let me do the other side. Sometimes for good measure, I will then cover this with electrical tape. You can also solder this, but I like a hot glue gun. I think more people probably are comfortable with hot glue gun. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry for a minute or two. Let's go ahead and put our batteries back in. So I'm just gonna show you what it looks like up close. Not really pretty, but it works. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop our batteries back in. Whoop. They are rolling. And I always wait to screw the top back in until I know my toy works. One other thing you'll need, which is really important, is a switch. So make sure you have a switch to test your toy. So I just have a switch from AbleNet. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure my toy is turned on too. That's a mistake I've made. All right, so my feet still work. This hand still works. Let's see if we adapted this correctly. I'm gonna go ahead and hit my switch. And we did. Let's flip her over. All right. So what we're gonna do now, I'm gonna go ahead and turn her off. All right, so I'm going to just kind of tuck these wires back in. If you are a sewer, you can absolutely sew this hole up. Sometimes I'll use zip ties to kind of tie the hole back up. You can stick as much of this wire in as need be. I probably will sew later, but that is how, after you put your top back on, you switch adapt a kind of off and on toy. And I like this toy as well because you don't have to hold the switch down for it to continue to activate. You can hit it once, it sings and dances, or you can hit it to stop. So I hope you guys try this. Follow me, AAC for All on Instagram, to message me and let me know how it goes. See you later.